Hello, everyone, and welcome to another mod spotlight, one that has been very, very long awaited and requested many times. We are doing a spotlight and overview and review for PyMod, or Pyanodon's mods. It is a mod pack. Essentially, there's multiple different components required to actually, you know, really play with Pyanodon's mod. And I do want to give a couple disclaimers here before we actually get into it. The main one being that I've not played that far into this. I will admit I gave up. So I guess in some way that gives an indication of how things are, or how I'll review this. But it's not all bad. I'm not going to give this like a terrible review, but um, I've played about 8 to 10 hours of this, and I know a lot of people probably thinking like, well, that's like nowhere near enough. You have no idea what you're talking about, which is true for a lot of the mod. However, I think I am still quite capable of giving a general overview and review of it, because prior to this, I hadn't done it because I'd never even touched it. Like, I never looked at it. I didn't know anything about it except that it was really complicated. So now actually playing it, for those 8 to 10 hours, I've experienced what it's like, and I can basically, just from like knowing what's been going on, what I've played through, and in addition to talking to some other folks who have played through all of it, I can pretty much surmise like how this is going to scale and how this is going to kind of progress from this point forward throughout the rest of the mod. So I think I am still in an okay situation to give a spotlight and review of it. So let's take a look quickly at what's required. So that is not it. So here is everything being used in here. Now there are a couple mods I added, like the FNEI and even distribution and Afraid of the Dark, that are not required for Pi, but are probably helpful, particularly something like FNEI. Same with RSO, but basically everything from here down is all part of the whole like mod suite that you need to play. So there's a lot. You can just find it on the mod portal, and anything basically made by the actual creator is what you'll need for this. So there's a lot. I would say whatever this is, 12, 15 different like mods in this whole pack, and they all do different things and contribute to the whole experience. Now, some may compare this to something like Bob's Angels. Now, I've also played Bob's Angels quite a long time ago, and I did make it a decent bit further than I did here in Pi. I think I played probably about 20, 25 hours, and Bob's Angels, I made it to, I think, Science 3 or Science 2. And I will just say off the bat, if you were to compare them, uh, Bob's Angels, it would be considered fairly simple compared to this. Now, this is going to kind of be like, I think you're going to fall into one of two groups with this. You're either going to be like me, where this is just not for you, or this is going to be something that is just going to be fantastic for you and give you a blast and keep you busy for a very long time, and that's awesome. So you're probably going to fall into one of those two camps. Now, let's dive into everything that this mod has. It has a lot. It basically adds it complicate or it adds complexity to basically every single step of the game and every single production cycle by like many multitudes. Like it's like everything excuse me, everything is more complicated. So as an example, this base you see here, which is not huge, but you can see what it is. This is all just for automated, like, base science. You can't really even call this a science pack, really. Like this is like the first science, which is really just a flower box essentially. But this is the first science you can do, and this isn't even. They don't even call it Science Pack 1. That's something you have to unlock. So this is like the bare bones science. This entire base is all just for this. And parts of it still don't work. So just to give you an idea, like if you compare that to what you need for red science and vanilla, um, it's quite significant. Something else I want to note that I think is important to note near the beginning here is if you are like me and you do not like the burner stage of the game, this is going to be a very rough and quite potentially an unpleasant experience for you, like it was for me, because you are in the burner stage of the game for a very, very long time in Pi. I'm still in the burner stage of the game in the regard that like all I don't have electric miners unlocked yet, and so all of my miners are burner miners. I don't have any other option. Uh, and now, granted, you can like feed them into each other and stuff. So it's not like the worst thing in the world, but you are on burner miners, and the assemblers as well are burner. I have power poles, just to power some other things, but like these are burner assemblers, so you have to put fuel in them. And in addition to this, something else to note is a lot of products in Pi generate byproducts. Like, so ash is one, for example. Anything that's like a burner, like a furnace or a burner miner or a burner assembler, that uses fuel is going to produce ash, which you then need to do something with, or it will back up the whole system. So you can kind of see where that's going. That's just a note. Like, if burner stage is not something that you like, this is already probably not something for you, because you were in this stage for a very long time. Now, let's look. We can just take a brief look at the tech tree to give you a general idea, and it is extensive is an understatement. Like, you can see here. Now, to actually do some numbers, I counted some stuff up. In order to actually automate these science packs here, or these flower containers, whatever you want to call them, they're called automation science packs, but this is actually science pack 1. So the automation science packs require 3 ingredients, and this entire base is all for these ingredients. Now, to actually automate this, you have to automate many of these other processes, one of which being wood, because you have to turn wood, or actually, they kind of change some things around. So you actually get logs when you chop down trees, but you have to turn those logs into wood, like you would have in vanilla. And for a very long time, that is not automated. You have to go chop trees to get the logs and then input them into this thing to get the wood. So what I just finished and where I kind of ended was doing automated, basically tree growing and harvesting, so we can get the wood to automate the boxes for this. Just to get, like, research wise, not even counting building wise, just to get the wood part automated, you have to research 12 things. Now that doesn't sound like a lot, but it takes, like, they're all 30, 20, 30, 40 science pack researches, and these aren't, it's kind of slow to make these. It's the labs are kind of slow. So this is the research for the wood automation, but you have to research all this stuff above it, to get to it. And you can see, I mean, most of these are like 30, 40, etc. To get to that. And that's just for the wood. Now, I counted up, in order to just unlock Pi Science 1, which is, if we scroll down, this one here, just to unlock this, you have to research 37 things. If you compare that to vanilla, 37 things in vanilla is probably like purple science or so. I'm just like guessing. But it's a pretty substantial amount of things to research, and they're starting to get expensive here. You can see over 100 for sure. Okay, so that's just something to note there. Now, I will say that the animations, the graphics, the whole style is very cool. I'm a big fan of this. Now, granted, this is not really gameplay related, but it does look nice. Like, this is super cool. Like, you have the little robots going and like harvesting the trees, and little flying guys watering them, and it's like all this stuff is super cool. And I do have to give credit where credit's due. And I actually, as a side thing, quite a while ago I made like a video that was like my top 3 or top 5 best overhaul mods, and I included Pi in it, and that was before I really knew much about it. And I would still put it in there. And the reason for that is because just the thought and the work and stuff that had to go into making this mod is pretty extraordinary. Like, it's complicated to play, but someone had to come up with this and actually make this. So I do have to give huge props to Pi, the dev of this, because this is truly an impressive feat just to make this mod and actually make it work. So I'm giving credit there, and if this is like, if you enjoy solving like really intense puzzles in the game or outside of the game, and you just enjoy a constant challenge, like this is probably something you'll enjoy. If you've just gone through vanilla as many times as you want to go through it and you're totally bored and it's way, way, way too easy, and you've like done Bobs and Angels and like you pretty much have the hang of that or something, this would be something good to check out, because this is just crazy complicated. I would say Pi is almost, in my opinion, it is complicated just to be complicated. Like, that's what it seems like sometimes. It seems like there's some unnecessary things in here that are here just to make it more complicated, which, if that's your thing, then like you're gonna have a blast for sure. If you just, if you just aren't really into the constant challenge puzzle solving on an extreme level, then like I am, then this may not be the thing for you, because it only gets harder from here. This is, I haven't even reached Science Pack 1, and that's just one. You can see if we go all the way down, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and there's actually another one, I think. And then there's this thing. So there's 8 plus a space science pack required to do these last researches. 8 after the first one. And all this that I've built is just for this. This isn't even for this yet. So you can kind of get an idea of how this would expand out from here. Now it does add a bunch of new resources. It has the base resources. So we do have copper, of course, and we have coal, but it's raw coal. And then you have stone, and then you have iron. But then it adds a bunch of other stuff, things like aluminum, and some things I won't be able to pronounce. Nexlite, titanium. If we look up here, quartz, zinc, antimony ore, I think, quartz, oil, sand. So this adds a vast amount of resources. So this is titanium ore. This is also titanium ore, I guess. And then you obviously have to process those resources in different buildings and in different processes and stuff. So just to give you a quick example here, we're taking this raw coal, which of course is raw and not actual coal. So we need to then put it in here and get coal. Like our main goal here was to get coal, but we now have these 3 other byproducts that come out of this that we have to do something with. So for now, I've just been storing this because I have nothing to do with it. And then we get these other 2 products. We get here like the coal gas and then tar, which up until very recently, I didn't have anything to do with it. So I sent it into here, which is kind of just like a storage void thing. Like it's in here, but as far as I can tell, it has 1 million storage. So pretty close to unlimited, I guess. I am using this coal gas finally to, in this drill, to actually mine this aluminum. So you do need things, but you usually get like these byproducts before you actually need them. So you have to figure out something to do with them. Like up until recently, I had nothing to do with ash. So I was kind of just storing it in boxes all over the place. And that's just kind of how it goes. And I would imagine that's how it goes throughout the whole rest of the mod. And then, so here, we actually have, I think this is actual coal, normal coal. And then this comes in here. Oh, this is coke. Okay, so coke is actually a whole different thing. You take the coal that you get, put it in here, and then you get all those same ingredients out that you got at this one, but you also get then coke there, which you then take the coke and you send it over to something like this, and you take the coke and you put it in and you get carbon dioxide, which then goes over and goes into this thing, which needs to make moss, which moss is an ingredient required to make another ingredient that you need to put in here. So you can see how this is going. I'm not going to walk through everything, but you can kind of see how this goes. Um, so, this was not my normal mod review. I've said before in the past when people asked, I can't just do a normal mod spotlight for something like Pi or Bob's Angels. Like, it's just not really possible because they're such huge mods. I guess this is more of a review experience, and I would still say a general spotlight now that I've actually played it and experienced part of it at least. I can kind of just generally say what it's like. And I will say this is not for me. I'm not saying it's bad, but this is not something that I particularly enjoy. I do enjoy a challenge, but not quite to this degree, or at least not this type of challenge. But some people love this. Like there's a few other streamers who have done this multiple times, in fact. And kind of as a last closing out thing to give you an idea, a few other streamers who have done this once or twice already. I believe it took like a couple hundred hours just to get like Science Pack 3 done, is kind of the numbers that were being thrown around. And then one streamer, Bold Viking, who just actually completed the entire mod somewhat recently, I think he was doing it for like 2 or 3 years, and he streamed, 6 hours a day, multiple days a week. And it took him years to actually beat the entire mod. So just to give you an idea of like kind of what you're in for, of course you don't have to beat it. But if you just really enjoy this intense puzzle solving and challenges and, all these different byproducts you have to deal with and transport and keep track of, then this is definitely probably the best thing out there for that. If I had to give kind of an alternative, I would say that Factorio 2 is an excellent mod. And I mention this not to take away from Pi, but just to, if someone's like, well, I don't want it that complicated, but I want something more complicated than vanilla. I've played Factorio 2. It was a lot of fun. It was more complicated than vanilla, but nowhere near on the scale of Pi. Bob's Angels even is certainly less complicated than this. It is more complicated for sure than vanilla or something like Factorio 2, but it is not to this level. And space exploration as well, I think would fall in probably around the Bob's Angels area, maybe a little less so up until you get to super late game. So if you're looking for something, if you're just looking for a step up from vanilla, kind of get your feet wet from into modded, this is definitely not something I would recommend. But if you're just looking for something to like really give your brain a workout, and maybe you've used some other overhaul mods before, I would recommend checking out Pi, because it is impressive, but it is frighteningly impressive and quite a challenge. So that's going to be my spotlight and review for it. I apologize if this wasn't what people were maybe expecting. There's no way I have time to actually play through this entire mod and give a full spotlight on it. As I mentioned before, that there's no way I have time for that, because it literally takes like over a year, and that's nowhere near worth the time either. But from what I played, that's my spotlight. That's my review of it. I would love to hear your thoughts below. Have you played Pi before? How far did you get? Are you interested in playing? If you have questions, I'll do my best to answer. But like I said, I only got about 10 hours in. But I would love to hear your thoughts and discussion down below. If you did enjoy and found this helpful, a like is appreciated. And if you're new, welcome to the channel, and feel free to subscribe to keep up with future content. And there will be a link in the description, as always with mod spotlights, to I will just link either to the main Pi page or just to the devs page on the mod portal, where they will just list all the mods they've made and you can download from there. But that will be linked in the description. As always, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. And until next time, I look forward to seeing you all, and do take care.